The strategy failed, and the system abandoned me in this world. Meanwhile, my intended target, Victoria, got engaged to Moonlight. She even humiliated me in front of the media, claiming that my relentless pestering was the reason she couldn't be with Moonlight sooner. Everyone thought I'd keep chasing after Victoria, and even the system believed I'd go crazy from unrequited love and eventually end my own life for her. Little did they know, as I stood by the window in the CEO office of my own company, I curved my lips into a smile and said, "Ridiculous. Bro spent 4 years sucking up to Victoria just to complete the mission. She took my affection for granted and treated me like a dog. Now that I'm finally free, do they really think I'd lose my mind over her? Insane. With the system no longer holding me back, it's time for the Lou Corporation to meet its downfall. 4 years of pursuing Victoria, only for her to get engaged to Moonlight. To add insult to injury, she had her father, William, offer me $800 million as a breakup fee. Will texted me saying, "Here's $800 million. Leave my daughter for good." Then, during a live broadcast press conference, Victoria declared herself a modern woman, stating that she would pursue her true love regardless of having a boyfriend. The system informed me that my mission had failed and I would be stuck in this world forever. It then detached itself from me, leaving me behind like a discarded host. But instead of feeling despair, I watched Victoria's radiant smile on the television and gave a chilling grin of my own. Speaking to myself, I muttered, "Now that the system is gone, let's bring down the Lou Corporation." The system had assumed I'd fallen for Victoria, and once free of its restrictions, would spiral into madness over my unfulfilled love, and eventually take my own life. What it didn't anticipate was that the moment it abandoned me, I'd start plotting the Lou family's ruin. Laughable. Bro spent 4 years bowing and scraping to Victoria, enduring her arrogance and mistreatment, all to complete a task. Now that I'm free, why would I even care about her? Am I supposed to go mad or pine after her? Please, the fact that I'm not slapping Victoria in the face is already magnanimous enough. Victoria proved true to her words. Half an hour after her press conference, my assistant, Ashley, informed me that the $800 million breakup fee had been deposited into my private account, awaiting my confirmation. Looking at Ashley's nervous face, as though terrified I'd have a public meltdown over my broken heart, I smiled and replied, "I'll sign it right away. Make sure to verify with the bank. Every single penny better be there." Ashley froze for a moment at my calm demeanor, but quickly handed me the paperwork. After I swiftly signed it, she walked out with the documents. I opened my phone to see a message from Victoria. "You can't be serious, Sincere. You actually took the money? Don't you have any pride?" Seeing her latest message, I chuckled and began typing a reply. How much is pride worth? If $800 million falls into my lap, why wouldn't I take it? Do you think I'm as foolish as you? After sending it, I wasted no time deleting her from my contacts while she was likely still typing a response. Victoria, that purebred fool, had offered up the Lou family's entire liquid assets as a breakup fee just to humiliate me. She assumed I wouldn't take the money and would keep clinging to her. Who could have guessed I'd turn my back on her and run off with the cash? Looking at the newly deposited fortune, I couldn't help but laugh. With this $800 million, I'll destroy Victoria and the Lou family together. Victoria had previously assured her father, William, that I wouldn't accept the money. She'd spun it as a publicity stunt that would generate buzz for the Lou family, boost their social media presence, and help promote their new product line, all while humiliating me and the Season family. The $800 million, she claimed, would eventually return to their accounts untouched. But I threw a wrench in her plans, happily pocketing the money without a second thought. Now the trending topic, real-life billionaire gives money to break up with daughter, topped the charts. And William had no face left to demand the money back. That night I slept on my fortune and had the best rest since arriving in this world. At 8 a.m. sharp, I woke up to find reporters swarming outside the Season family estate, eager to interview me. Naturally, the entertainment world's favorite love triangle, top actor Ethan, Liu family heiress Victoria and the supposed loser third wheel needed my misery to round out the story. The moment I stepped outside, a young female reporter, her expression full of provocation, shoved a microphone in my face and asked, "Mr. Sincere, what's your opinion on Victoria and Ethan's engagement? Rumor has it William gave you $800 million to end things with Victoria. Are you planning to continue pursuing her?" I was just about to get into my car when her words stopped me. Closing the car door, I leaned against the luxury vehicle with a smirk. First of all, I'll wish Victoria and Ethan a happy marriage. I, Sincere, know when to let go. I have no interest in married women. Secondly, your second question is quite amusing. $800 million versus love? Only a fool would choose love. As I turned to leave, the female reporter shoved me against the car, her voice sharp. "So, Mr. Sincere, are you admitting that you were never truly in love with Victoria and that you're just a greedy opportunist?" The impact of her push sent a sharp pain through my back as it hit the car's protruding edge, and my good mood vanished immediately. Looking at her relentless attitude, I let out a cold laugh. "Your question is laughable. If I say I won't pursue Victoria, you'll call me a greedy opportunist. If I say I will, you'll label me a shameless simp who ruins marriages. Seems like you've already taken both sides of the argument. Which school are you from? Is this what your journalism professor teaches you? Young lady, I suggest you stop trying to stir up big news." After saying this, I took off my sunglasses, my sharp gaze locking onto her. She visibly faltered under my stare, guilt flooding her expression. Just as she tried to prop herself up and say something, I interrupted her with a cold laugh. "So, you're a paparazzo from that tabloid, huh? Forgot to tell you, your company's big boss became me yesterday. Starting today, you don't need to come to work anymore. Aren't you fond of being Ethan's lapdog? Well, let him take you in then." With that, I brushed past the stunned reporter, opened the door to my luxury car, and left in style. What I didn't know was that other reporters at the scene had been live streaming the whole exchange. Every word between the reporter and me was recorded and broadcasted in full. The comment section exploded instantly. Viewers were stunned, their comments pouring in. "Has Sincere lost his mind? Why isn't he playing the lovesick puppy today and instead acting like a domineering CEO? Honestly, I think this is his true self. How could the only heir of the Willows Corporation with money and power be a simp? Exactly. He probably lowered himself before just to win over Victoria. Now that he's showing his real side, he's so cool." As the live stream continued to circulate, the narrative shifted. Instead of waiting to see me make a fool of myself, people were now applauding my authenticity. I didn't pay attention to any of that, though. Driving straight to the Willows Corporation building, I prepared for a day at work. Previously, I had always thought that once my mission in this world was complete, I would leave, cutting all ties with the Willow family. Because of that, I had been a hands-off heir, barely involving myself in the company's decisions. But now that I was staying in this world, tied to the Willows Corporation like two sides of the same coin, it was only natural for me to take this responsibility seriously. Before, my father used to complain that I was so preoccupied with Victoria that I couldn't spare time to manage the company, forcing my cousin Emma to step in and handle things. Now that I was taking the initiative, my father seemed relieved for the first time in years. When I arrived at the CEO's office, Emma and I started going over the handover of responsibilities. She rolled her eyes at me and said, "Now that you're done being a lovesick fool, you'd better work hard, got it? I'm leaving now. If you need help in the future, come find me." I nodded and handed her an invitation without hesitation. "Actually, I need your help right now." Emma looked at me exasperated. I continued, "There's a banquet tonight hosted by the Lanes. They want to return the $800 million they owe me and humiliate me while they're at it. You're coming with me to put them in their place." Emma frowned. "What's the Lane family's problem? Just because of that $800 million, you got roasted online for being a gold digger and a heartless jerk who only dated their daughter for money. And now that the drama's over, they want to take the money back? Shameless. I'm coming with you. Let's see if they can handle my wrath." When evening came, Emma, clad in a burgundy gown, confidently walked into the banquet hall with me, dressed in a sharp suit. Victoria stood nearby, arm in arm with her fiancé Ethan. When she saw me looking radiant and confident, a flicker of displeasure crossed her face. Since my father had stepped down, the Willow family's business was now in Emma's and my hands. As soon as we entered, several business leaders and clients swarmed around us, eager to chat. Emma and I handled them with ease, quickly turning the previously dull atmosphere into a lively one. In stark contrast, Victoria, the host of the event, seemed to be sidelined and ignored. Furious, she eventually approached me with a frosty expression and sneered, "Sincere, didn't I tell you to take the money and disappear? What are you doing here, strutting around? Are you so hung up on me that you can't let go?" The chatter around us quieted, and the business leaders who had been talking to me tactfully stepped back. I held my wine glass, feigning surprise as I looked at her. "Oh, wasn't it Will Lane who sent me the invitation? Who do you think you are, ordering me to leave? What's wrong? Are you so used to throwing tantrums at home that you've decided to air them in public?" Hearing my sharp retort, a couple of business leaders who didn't get along with the Lane family chuckled softly. Emma, standing beside me, fought to suppress her laughter as well. Victoria froze, stunned that I would embarrass her so openly in front of everyone. After all, I'd put up with her whims for 4 years, always at her beck and call. "Have you lost your mind, Sincere? How dare you talk to me like this?" she stammered, clearly unprepared for my unapologetic attitude. I raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on my lips. "Victoria, I think you're the one who's lost it. You already have a fiancé, yet you still expect others to grovel before you? What's the matter? Do you enjoy the thrill?" As she opened her mouth to rebut, I cut her off again. "If that's not what you mean, then you sure have a vivid imagination. Do you really think the head of the Willows Corporation would bow and scrape for someone like you? A penniless daddy's girl who can only swipe her father's secondary credit card? Since when did the Lanes grow so bold? Even your father wouldn't dare speak to me this way. Who do you think you are? Do you have a death wish?" Victoria had been ready to argue, but my words silenced her immediately. She shrank back, visibly rattled. Sensing the tension, Ethan stepped forward in a placating manner, forcing a smile. "Sincere, I know this is all my fault. I'm the reason you and Victoria have a falling out. Blame me, not her, okay?" Victoria, touched by her fiancé's gesture, looked at him with teary eyes. "Ethan, don't apologize to him. He doesn't deserve it." Ethan gazed at Victoria with deep affection, putting on an air of magnanimity as he said, "As long as Victoria can reconcile with Sincere, I don't mind admitting I'm wrong." Watching their tender exchange, I felt so disgusted that I couldn't even be bothered to speak. Just as I was about to grab my sister and leave, a wealthy woman blocked my path. I turned around to see none other than Mrs. Chen, a close family friend of the Sincere family. Mrs. Chen looked at Ethan with disdain, furrowing her brows in a tone of authority. "Ethan, you may be an award-winning actor, but this isn't a film set. Stop your dramatics here. If you have something to say it outright. Beating around the bush and framing others is hardly dignified." With that, she turned to Mrs. Liu, who had just stepped out, and raised her voice. "Mrs. Liu, see? I told you these actors are all show and no substance. Now look, he's turned into a clown right in front of everyone." Mrs. Liu's face darkened at the remark, but for the sake of the Liu family's reputation, she refrained from lashing out at Ethan. Instead, she shot a sharp glare at Victoria, gritting her teeth and muttering under her breath, "What a disgrace. Why are you still standing here?" The Chen family, being a major player in the construction materials industry, was not someone the Liu family could afford to offend. Mrs. Liu had no choice but to plaster on a forced smile and apologize to Mrs. Chen. "I'm terribly sorry for causing such a scene today," she said. Mrs. Chen chuckled, her words cutting. "Well, the Liu family's daughter may lack good judgment, but at least she has a generous heart. After all, she did gift Sincere $8 million. Truly a saint, isn't she?" With just a few words, Mrs. Chen managed to make Mrs. Liu too embarrassed to bring up the topic of reclaiming the breakup fee. Mrs. Liu forced a laugh, gave a few perfunctory instructions for everyone to enjoy the food and drinks, and then made a hasty exit. Watching Mrs. Liu's awkward retreat, Mrs. Chen let out a derisive laugh. She still has the nerve to cause trouble for Sincere? Doesn't she know her own limits? It's a good thing Sincere came to his senses. If he had really married into a nouveau riche family like the Lias, we'd all be in for a rough ride. I chimed in with a smile. Exactly. Ethan could never compare to Jack. Sis, when are you and Jack getting married? My sister's cheeks flushed and her smile carried a trace of bashfulness. This October, she said. Thank you, Mom, for standing up for my brother. Seeing her future daughter-in-law's shy demeanor, Mrs. Chen beamed with joy and pulled my sister aside to chat. Meanwhile, I wandered off to the open-air balcony, mulling over my next steps. In the past 4 years, I had invested significant time and effort to win over Victoria. Back when she was studying abroad, I applied to a university in the same country just to be close to her. I didn't attend the same school, though. I couldn't bring myself to enroll in a mediocre institution like hers. At the time, the Liu family was still considered nouveau riche, and Victoria's academic performance was poor. I even helped her write her thesis so she could graduate. After we returned to the States, Victoria mentioned that her Moonlight, her one true love, had grown up in hardship and dreamed of opening his own studio. To please her, I went out of my way to scout locations, poured my heart into managing the operations, and eventually set up a company for Ethan. Later, Victoria told me that Ethan's real dream was to act, but the Liu family didn't have connections in the entertainment industry. She hoped I could help him. At that point, I was already tempted to give her a piece of my mind, but for the sake of my mission, I swallowed my anger and made Ethan one of the hottest stars in showbiz. I had thought that the verbal marriage agreement between the Liu and Sincere families would guarantee Victoria's loyalty to me, and that Ethan, as an outsider, wouldn't pose a threat. But to my disbelief, Victoria, in her utter foolishness, actually wanted to marry him. Even more infuriatingly, William and Olivia tacitly approved of her actions. Fuming, I slammed my fist against the balcony railing, only to have the ornate design dig painfully into my hand. A voice laced with amusement called out, "Mr. Sincere, careful with your hand." I turned to see a young woman no older than her early 20s with an air of elegance. She wore a custom-made black evening gown, exuding the grace of a lady from a distinguished family. I frowned slightly but maintained a polite tone. "Miss Evelyn, as far as I know, the Sincere family has no dealings with the Evelyn family. Why have you sought me out for a chat?" Evelyn smiled and wagged her finger playfully. Looking me in the eye, she said sincerely, "Just because our families haven't collaborated in the past doesn't mean we won't in the future. Mr. Sincere, if you dislike the Liu family so much, why not consider partnering with us instead?" Her almond-shaped eyes sparkled with amusement, but I was wary. "Miss Evelyn, such generosity surely comes with an agenda, doesn't it?" Evelyn was about to respond when Victoria suddenly stormed in, her voice sharp. "So this is why you've had a change of heart so quickly, Sincere. Turns out you've been seeing someone else." I frowned and shot her a withering look. "You're engaged. Why are you playing the jealous ex? Get lost and stop bothering me." Hearing the commotion, Olivia hurried over to drag Victoria away, awkwardly apologizing to Evelyn, who rolled her eyes in exasperation and dismissed them. Watching Olivia grovel, I felt nothing but contempt. I immediately agreed to Evelyn's proposal. The resources I now controlled could deal a significant blow to the Liu family, leaving them struggling for the next 2 decades. However, it wouldn't be enough to bankrupt them completely. The humiliation I'd endured over the past 4 years had steeled my resolve to see the Liu family fall. Evelyn, noticing my furrowed brow, smiled and said nothing more. I glanced at Sincere and could tell he had no intention of staying here any longer. To be honest, I found the atmosphere here rather suffocating too. It was getting late, so I decided to excuse myself. Turning to Sincere, I asked, Would you mind giving me a ride back? Maybe stop by my place so we can have a proper discussion about our collaboration?" Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Victoria glaring at me from a distance, her face full of anger. Her gaze only irritated me further, so I pulled Evelyn into my arms, waved goodbye to my sister, and left with Evelyn in my luxury car. The moment Evelyn and I arrived home, paparazzi snapped photos of us together. A week after the banquet, those photos were splashed all over the internet by a gossip account. The rumors were relentless, claiming that while I was supposedly dating Victoria, I was already involved with Evelyn. Some even accused me of deliberately provoking William to drive me away, all to extort $800 million from their family. The comments section exploded with debates. Some said Evelyn and I made a perfect couple, while others labeled me a scumbag who cheated for money and love. A few more rational voices pointed out that, as the eldest son of the Sincere family with assets far exceeding the Liu family's, it was ludicrous to think I'd stoop to such schemes. They even joked that if anyone were capable of such behavior, it'd be someone like Ethan, a Phoenix man who came from nothing. Soon enough, Ethan's fans swarmed in, fiercely defending him. They clashed with the netizens, creating an online war. I sat in my office scrolling through the photos on the gossip account, letting out a cold laugh. Ethan's tactics were laughably amateurish. Did he truly believe that hiring someone to snap a few compromising photos to stir up scandals about me would bring me down? Or that, like him, a mere actor, my reputation would crumble and my career would end over a simple rumor? The so-called best actor clearly had a brain made of paper. Smirking, I dialed the internal line for the Sincere Corporation and summoned the head of the PR department. Within minutes, new explosive gossip emerged online. Another gossip account claimed to possess evidence linking a certain surnamed male actor to severe bullying during high school. The account threatened to release the evidence unless the actor paid $2 million. Given this account's history of delivering accurate scoops about A-list celebrities, the internet immediately went wild. Speculation about the identity of this surnamed actor began to trend. Some pointed fingers at Ethan, but his fans quickly clapped back. Our darling Ethan has been a model student since childhood. He became a best actor through his own hard work. How could he possibly have time to bully anyone in school? Exactly. There are so many surnamed actors in this industry. Why single out our Ethan? You haters are just jealous of his success and his journey to the top with a wealthy, beautiful bride. Get lost. The accused netizens fell silent, embarrassed for jumping to conclusions. Little did they know their wild guesses were spot on. 5 hours later, when Ethan's team still hadn't contacted the gossip account, a follow-up post appeared. This time, the account revealed shocking new details. The bullied student had fallen into severe depression due to the relentless harassment and, after Ethan transferred schools, tragically died by suicide. The account claimed this was essentially bullying that led to death, a matter of life and death that sent shockwaves through the internet. The public's curiosity reached a fever pitch, with everyone trying to uncover the identity of the alleged bully. As for me, I relaxed in my office, chatting idly with Evelyn. Lately, this heiress had been acting strangely. Ever since she suggested a collaboration at the Liu family gathering, she'd been dropping by Sincere Corporation daily to chat with me for no apparent reason. So when Ethan stormed into my office in a fit of rage, I was leisurely piecing together a puzzle Evelyn had brought along. It was amusing to see Ethan, usually so polished and gentlemanly, lose his composure. His eyes blazed with fury as he glared at me. "Sincere, you bastard. What's the meaning of this? Why did you have the gossip account expose me?" Unfazed by his outburst, I continued working on the puzzle, my hands steady as ever. I only stood up after placing the final piece, deliberately taking my time. After all, I was used to Ethan's temper. Back when I was still trying to win over Victoria, I had tolerated plenty of his tantrums while helping him launch his company. Now that I was no longer bound by any obligations, I saw no reason not to make him pay for every slight he dealt me. Turning away, I calmly picked up my coffee cup and smiled at him. Ethan, what an unexpected visit. Care for a cup of coffee to soothe your throat? Ethan's face turned an even deeper shade of red with anger.